The Vikings are known for their impressive longships, raids, and explorations. They were great warriors and traders and also very peculiar people with some strange habits that we can't understand even today. Welcome to my channel. And today, let's find out why did Vikings sleep while sitting up. The Vikings were a Scandinavian people who lived between the 8th and 11th centuries AD. They lived in Scandinavia, which includes modern Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Even though they only existed for around 300 years, they played a big role in European history. They had close trade relations with many European nations, and they raided and explored all around Europe, Asia, and even the Americas. Even though most of us know about their strength and skill as warriors, they were also traders, explorers, landowners, farmers, and even slaves. Slavery was actually common in Viking culture. Slaves were called thralls, and they could be bought, sold, and inherited. Most of them were captured during raids, but sometimes Vikings also chose to sell themselves into slavery to pay off debts or make money for their families. But this doesn't mean they were any less racist than other Europeans at the time. In fact, they had a word for all the non-white people they encountered. They used the term "athelscand" to refer to anyone with darker skin than them. This is where the word heathen comes from, which originally meant a non-Christian, but took on a broader meaning of anyone non-white in modern times. One interesting thing about the Vikings is that they weren't one single group of people. Rather, the term Viking refers to the practices of individuals or small groups of people. So basically it means that not all Vikings did the same things. There were even times when different groups of Vikings fought against each other. So now let's talk about why the Vikings slept sitting up. But before that, if you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you will never miss any of our videos. Why did Vikings sleep sitting up? We have already mentioned that the Vikings were warriors, traders, landowners, farmers, and even slaves. Life wasn't easy for them, especially if you were a farmer or a slave. Back then, most people worked from sun up to sundown, so by the time the sun went down, they were exhausted. However, because there was no electricity back then, everyone had to go to bed pretty early. For example, the normal sleeping hours for farmers were between 4 and 5 p.m., and they had to wake up at around 4 a.m. That means they didn't get much sleep at all. To make matters worse, Vikings slept while sitting up, just like cats. Even though we have comfortable beds and mattresses to sleep on, some people still prefer to sleep while sitting up, such as patients who have trouble getting in and out of bed, or elderly people who need help from their caregivers. Sleeping while sitting up puts pressure on your heart and lungs and makes breathing difficult. It also affects blood circulation and leads to high blood pressure, heart disease, strokes, and varicose veins. But people do it anyway because sometimes it is easier than laying down, and they also believe that it helps with snoring and sleep apnea. So what made the Vikings sleep while sitting up? Well, it's all about their clothing. You see, back then, people used to wear long tunics that reached their knees or ankles. These tunics were tight, leaving very little room to move. Because of this, if you wanted to sleep, you would first have to take off your shoes, belt, cloak, and undergarments. Then you would roll up your tunic and pants to your knees and sleep sitting up like a tailor. When morning came, you would then dress up again and start your day. Another reason why the Vikings slept while sitting up is because they didn't want to mess up their hair. See, Vikings believed that having an attractive appearance was very important. Men tried to look their best by growing long beards and mustaches, while women wore fancy hairstyles. Long flowing locks were a symbol of wealth and power, and since the Vikings often slept without a head covering, they preferred to keep their heads elevated so their hair wouldn't get messed up. Interestingly enough, the Vikings were not the only ones who slept while sitting up. Ancient Greeks and Romans also preferred to sleep while sitting up. A common practice among ancient Greeks was to lie down on a couch while having a slave fan them to sleep. As for the Romans, they preferred to sleep in a reclining position while being supported by pillows. Although it seems to us that sleeping while sitting up is weird and unhealthy, it was quite common in ancient times. Another strange Viking habit was eating with a knife and fork. Today, it's hard to imagine eating without using a knife and fork, but it wasn't too long ago that eating with your hands was the norm. In fact, people in Europe didn't use cutlery until the 13th century. They only started using knives during the 16th century. Before that, people either ate with their hands or shared a big spoon. The Vikings were among the first Europeans to use a knife and fork together. Interesting enough, these utensils looked nothing like the ones we have today. The Viking knife was a small pocket knife with a dull blade, similar to a butter knife. It was used to spread butter and cheese on bread and meat. The Viking fork, on the other hand, had 4 or 5 tines and was used to hold food and push it towards the mouth. These utensils were expensive and only wealthy Vikings could afford them. The poor either ate with their hands or used a spoon. Most Vikings didn't own a toothbrush, and some didn't even own a comb. Instead of brushing their teeth, they used a chewing stick. These sticks had one end that was chewed on, and the other end was used to scrape teeth and massage gums. To remove dirt and debris from their teeth, the Vikings either used a piece of string or a bit of animal bone. They would chew one end of the string or wrap it around the bone and use the other end to brush their teeth. Some Vikings used a birch bark comb, but most of them couldn't afford one and had to use a wooden comb instead. They also used animal claws, such as those of a goat, to remove lice from their hair. Now, you might be wondering, what kind of shampoo did Vikings use? Well, they didn't use shampoo at all. Instead, they washed their hair with water and occasionally used a special soap called sypha. This soap was made from animal fat and ashes and was used to clean both the body and hair. Sometimes they also mixed herbs and flowers into their shampoo to make their hair smell nice. As for bathing, the Vikings didn't bathe very often. They took a bath only a few times per year and mostly to get rid of lice. Bathing was not considered necessary for cleanliness, and most of them didn't even own a bathtub. Instead, they either washed themselves with water from a nearby lake or river, or had someone else pour water over them. Public baths were usually attached to public buildings, such as marketplaces, and these were also used for social gatherings. The hottest the bath was, the higher the social status of the person taking it. For example, a chieftain or jarl could enjoy a bath at 70 degrees Celsius, while a regular person could only enjoy a bath of 40 degrees Celsius. Did Vikings use toilet paper? The Vikings didn't use toilet paper, but they did use something called a Pew's visual style, which was a piece of wood with a rough surface used for cleaning. They also used moss, leaves, gourds, pebbles, or whatever they could find handy. Sometimes they simply washed themselves with water from a nearby lake or river. The wealthiest Vikings could afford a seat with a hole in the middle, which made it easier to sit and clean themselves. Do you find these habits disgusting or interesting? Let us know in the comments below. Also, please hit that like button if you enjoyed watching this video. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss any of our videos. Thank you for watching.